Thoroughbreds are go. Brought to you by Thoroughbred Breeders Australia and Ozhorse. Supporting thoroughbreds in every stage of life, on and off the track.
Hello, I'm Caroline Searcy. Welcome to the first episode in a new series of Thoroughbreds Are Go. Over the next 5 weeks, we'll bring you stories promoting this great breed off the track, as well as giving racing owners information on what to ask to ensure your ex-racehorse gets the best new home, and tips for the people in the equestrian world taking them on about how to best care for their thoroughbreds. Coming up this week, we hear from Inglis Managing Director Mark Webster, a passionate horseman and supporter of off-track thoroughbreds, as Inglis supports the Racing New South Wales Equimillion competition. Our Thoroughbreds Are Go sponsored rider, 13-year-old Harper Wheatley, discusses her first Equimillion event from a junior rider's perspective. And Gorey Park stud retiree, a former Rosehill Guineas winner, Laserhawk, now age 17 in Mystery Downs. Where are they now? That's all coming up on the return of Thoroughbreds Are Go. This segment of Thoroughbreds Are Go is brought to you by Inglis, celebrating graduates both on and off the track. The recent Racing New South Wales Equimillion event held in Sydney attracted over 500 thoroughbreds and plenty of humans dedicated to the care of this magnificent animal. I caught up with Inglis Managing Director Mark Webster, an experienced horseman himself and passionate about the aftercare of thoroughbreds, to see some Inglis graduates going through their paces. Another Equimillion, and great to see Inglis supporting these off-track thoroughbreds. And it's an incredible competition, isn't it, when you see hundreds and hundreds of ex-racehorses all in the one place?
That's right, Caroline. This is the third running of Equimillion, and look, we sponsored from the very start with a view that the aftercare and the welfare of racehorses is really important to Inglis, to our shareholders and all of our team members. It's wonderful to come here. There's 500 competing over this long weekend, which is remarkable that it's almost at capacity now.
You know, people need to see the dedication of people outside the racing and breeding industry. I mean, look, some of them work in the industry, but there are so many equestrians that are kind of falling in love with thoroughbreds again.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting to see the bridging too. I was just down the back watching a Tractable, who is a Easter graduate from the COVID year. Yep. He won $2.5 million on the track. I think he's only 5 or 6 now, but he only stopped racing in June. You know, he was up in Queensland, and here he is doing dressage down the back arena like 4 months later, which is quite amazing. And Sarah Ryan, the trainer of the horse, is still here coaching the rider today. Hasn't quite let go of that responsibility. Yeah, so it's lovely to see the racing people still involved and connected to the new owners, who are, I guess, equestrian people in the crossover. And
I think the interesting thing too is that a lot of racing people, whether it be clubs or, you know, owners, there are a lot of owners that have got involved, and trainers, and there's a lot of support for this in terms of sponsoring particular riders, because it is expensive to have any horse.
It is. Look, it's expensive to have them, and of course, and then to go and enter them into competitions like this is expensive. But you know, I think it's great that there's an incentive though for people to want to take that step, and money does help. The prestige, competing here. I mean, this is the Olympic equestrian facility, right? Mm-hmm. So it's prestigious for people to come here and compete, and good to see thoroughbreds here competing. I've been here many times competing on quarter horses, just over the back there. One of my favourite venues, but I've been here to see, you know, world-class show jumpers and dressage horses. And here we have now thoroughbreds, some of them complete newbies learning the new trade.
The elite riders too, because there has been that push to warm bloods, through, I guess, the 80s, thoroughbreds were the go-to horses, and warm bloods sort of took over, particularly with dressage. But now we're seeing, Amanda Ross, we see Shanae Lowings, these are elite Australian riders, and they are invested in these thoroughbreds, and they believe they can get through to that elite level of Olympic Games, World Cups, World Championships.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, our thoroughbreds have always been very competitive at, 3-day events. Eventing in general, but I think there's even more of a focus on that now for dressage and just show jumping and those specific disciplines. There's also a real advantage, Caroline, like when you're buying, and I'm not telling people not to buy warm bloods, but the reality is some of these other breeds, the European breeds, are very expensive to get started. But you can pick out a thoroughbred off the track for almost nothing at the moment, and in many cases it is nothing. You just need to form a relationship with an owner or a trainer and just promise a good home, and then just spend your money on the training of the horse. So the actual capital outlay can be almost zero to buy these horses and get started.
You see that link between racing and the equestrian world. A young girl I sponsored through Thoroughbreds Go, 13-year-old Harper Wheatley, and she's fascinated by racing. So she goes to the sales, she goes to the races, and she picks out the horses she might like to ride in the future because she really loves the breed. But she's also learning about racing pedigrees. She wants to be a track work rider. That's the crossover with a lot of these young people. It opens the racing industry up for them too.
Yeah, it certainly does. I was just talking to somebody down the back who's in a stable, I won't say which one, but she's eyeing off horses in that stable that she could take on board for this very event in the future. And so I think in the back of the mind of a lot of people now involved in racing, or people who are fans and follow racing, they'll be thinking about that now. Seeing that horse in the mounting yard that's particularly quiet and handling the whole occasion. That at the end of their racing, they're the sort of horse that might suit them. Particularly the good-looking ones, Caroline. We all like a good-looking horse.
Oh, there's some beautiful-looking horses around here today, that's for sure. But, the bigger picture too, and from an Inglis point of view, you've obviously always been responsible for, not selling horses that are too old, or trying to, now with the online digital platform, horses don't need to travel. You don't need to travel pregnant mares necessarily late in the spring, all those sorts of things. Everything helps in the industry, telling the sort of anti-racing world that the industry is trying really hard and it will get it right.
Yeah, that's right. Look, we took the initiative 8 or 9 years ago now to start a digital platform just to facilitate easier trade of horses, not so much for commercial purposes, but just to allow horses that are coming off the track to be offered to a wider audience. And the reality is that our live sales that we're running, if we're having like a mixed monthly sale or something, we might get 100 or 200 people turning up. But with a digital sale, we can have an infinite number of people around the country participating and buying a horse that's suitable for this very purpose. And indeed, quite often we've got 20,000 people at a digital sale eyeing off geldings that are coming off the track, or mares coming off the track, whereas in the past, under the old way of selling them, we would never have had that. And we see that now. I mean, and some of these horses are selling to New Zealand and other places as well for this very purpose.
There's still a lot of work to be done. Obviously, Racing New South Wales has its model. We see different models around, Australia and around the world. But, we're getting closer to the right solutions, aren't we? And all of this really helps.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I guess one consideration is all the states are doing their own thing when it comes to welfare and aftercare. And I'm lucky enough that I do travel to America quite regularly, and I look at their aftercare programs over there, and they're quite proactive. But wherever I go, the common view is we can still do better, right? So I'm not pretending we're here today and we've solved all of our problems. There's still a lot of work to be done in relation to aftercare, for owners to take responsibility of their horses, and for everybody involved in racing to take on their responsibility to ensure these horses have a great life. And some of them will come here, but some of them have a life in breeding. And even in my case at home, I've got a lovely mare off the track that I'm using for breeding, but not for breeding a thoroughbred. She'll be a surrogate for my quarter horse mare, who I want to keep in work, and she's a maturity mare. So there's lots of different ways they can be cared for moving forward, and this is one of them.
Nature Strip clings on. He's king of the mountain this time.
Winner of 22 races, over $20 million in prize money. Stick around. Just along the rail, one time to take the ride. Brilliant group, I must say, Kathy O'Hara. Doing a super job on Nature Strip. One of the heroes of Equimillion 2025.
And it's an owner's responsibility, isn't it? I mean, you really need to, when you're retiring a horse, to really look at all those options. There are a lot of options out there, and it can be hard and confusing, but trainers are happy to help. Anyone could contact anyone at Inglis. You know, you're all happy. Everybody in the industry wants to help find horses the right home.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's a lot of trainers with a big social media following. You know, when they have horses that are suitable, particularly the young people that are buying these horses or wanting them, you know, just use their social media, not just to promote horses that are winning, but the opportunities for horses when, you know, their racing is over. And so look, we can sell them through digital, but equally they can promote them to the right sort of people through social media. The key is they've just got to go to a good home, you know, and making sure that they're well cared for moving forward. So everyone's got to do their due diligence in that regard.
And thanks to Mark Webster and Inglis for supporting this new season of Thoroughbreds Are Go. Coming up after the break, we catch up with our tag-sponsored rider Harper Wheatley at Equimillion to get a junior rider's perspective on the event. Recently on Bred to Win, we introduced you to our Thoroughbreds Are Go sponsored rider at Equimillion, Harper Wheatley. And if you could bottle and sell her passion for the thoroughbred both on and off the track, there'd be millions more dollars you could pour into thoroughbred aftercare. Harper. So Fizz, or the Sherbet Man as he's known as, or he was as a racehorse, tell us a bit about how you came to have him and a little bit about what you're doing with him.
So Mum got him as an off-the-tracker, and she was just planning on retraining him and selling him, as she does with most, and we were looking for a thoroughbred for me at that time, and so I hopped on him just to see for size and what I thought of the thoroughbreds, and I ended up sticking with him. I love all sorts of thoroughbreds. They're my favourite breed. I really love them for their versatility and, you know, all the things they can do. And I mean, you get to train them yourself, so you really get to grow that relationship along with them.
What does Equimillion offer to you?
Well, showing how like all the retraining you've done and really getting to get out there with all the other thoroughbreds and just showing your thoroughbred around. It's quite an exciting experience to go to. It'll be great to go there and do well, but just going there is quite exciting. First time, finally old enough, getting to compete. It's a good way to start.
Well, it looks as if you've thoroughly enjoyed yourself, your first Equimillion riding. Tell us how you found the weekend overall.
Really, really great. It was a lovely competition to be at. Fizz enjoyed himself. Overall in the dressage, he finished midfield with a really competitive class of riders. It was a very big class. There was about 30 people in it and some really lovely, well-trained thoroughbreds in there. So they've obviously had lots and lots of work, and I can see that retrainers have worked very hard on them. The show jumping, obviously our favourite. He did well as well. He finished midfield again. The same thing, same kind of deal. There was lots and lots of really hard-working riders out there with their thoroughbreds, but I'm really happy with him. So he did a very good 2 rounds and a very great 2 dressage tests.
It's good to see because it is all about testing yourself against yourself, and the biggest thing I guess you want is to see your horse and yourself improve, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, looking back, like from now being able to come here and do all these really proper competitive competitions, and like looking back where we first started, our first competition was just going out to a local riding club, and you know, seeing his improvement now, it's fabulous, and I can't wait to see what next year brings on for us.
In terms of the other riders too, I mean, it's interesting what you say, that it takes so much work, doesn't it, to get a horse to come out. And this is, you know, a lot of these are fairly low-grade competitions. It's not as if you're competing for World Cups or anything, but it still takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
It does, and I mean, it takes a really competitive and dedicated person. Obviously, when you're starting thoroughbreds from scratch, they've come from learning one thing and not knowing what you're asking from them, so it does take quite a while to really get onto them, asking for what you want, but it's a really rewarding thing, seeing how well you've done retraining them yourself and starting from scratch.
For next year, obviously you have Fizz and he's going to improve as well, but I gather you're a bit enthused, and Mum is as well, about the new star class.
Yeah, so next year, obviously I'm going to bring Fizz, and we're looking to get a new star horse so I can give that horse a chance and really showcase the hard work that I've put with either him or her, and how well like she or he has come along in the short time that you get.
But it's all about, I guess, whether it's dressage initially and then show jumping and just working out what's right for that horse, isn't it? So it's good to have the skills to do both.
Exactly right. Taking them to local competitions, just seeing what, you know, suits them and what doesn't. It's really important to get along and see what the horse is capable of doing, but I will find that majority of the thoroughbreds are capable of doing a lot and getting very far.
Yeah, and do you get to know a lot of people here? I mean, everyone sort of has their own truck or float, or you're busy, obviously. But have you found some people sort of to watch and learn from?
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a few inspiration of people here. Seeing how well and how hard they've worked on their horses, it really puts my mind to it and thinks, wow, I'm sure I would love to get to where they are one day.
And so overall the experience, you sort of learned from it. Was it as good as you thought it'd be?
100% it was. I can't wait for next year. I'm very glad to be here. It's quite an exciting experience. Being old enough now and getting to say that I was at Equimillion and competing here at SIAC, it's really exciting.
A fabulous young lady, and I look forward to following Harper Wheatley's progression in the thoroughbred industry. Coming up after the break, thanks to Frank and Christine Cook's Mystery Downs, where are they now? We catch up with 17-year-old Laser Hawk, a former Rosehill Guineas winner at Gorey Park Stud in Mudgee. Recently on Bred to Win, we introduced you to our Thoroughbreds Are Go sponsored rider at Equimillion, Harper Wheatley. And if you could bottle and sell her passion for the thoroughbred both on and off the track, there'd be millions more dollars you could pour into thoroughbred aftercare. Harper, so Fizz, or the Sherbet Man as he's known as, or he was as a racehorse, tell us a bit about how you came to have him and a little bit about what you're doing with him.
So Mum got him as an off-the-tracker and she was just planning on retraining him and selling him, as she does with most, and we were looking for a thoroughbred for me at that time, and so I hopped on him just to see for size and what I thought of the thoroughbreds, and I ended up sticking with him. I love all sorts of thoroughbreds. They're my favourite breed. I really love them for their versatility and all the things they can do. And I mean, you get to train them yourself, so you really get to grow that relationship along with them.
What does Equimillion offer to you?
Well, showing how all the retraining you've done and really getting to get out there with all the other thoroughbreds and just showing your thoroughbred around. It's quite an exciting experience to go to. It'll be great to go there and do well, but just going there is quite exciting. First time, finally old enough, getting to compete, it's a good way to start.